On this episode, we check in with Ed to hear 10 differences he's noticed between Thailand and the U.S.
So if you're thinking of moving back home or just want to hear what it's like heading back to the motherland after years as an expat, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krab, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 because I rejected the Church of the Great Moose and was ordered to leave the country by the Grand Hoser.
That almost sounds real. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 21 years ago. Fell in love with the fact that wherever I went in Bangkok, or really Thailand, there would be the same street restaurant with the same plastic chairs, free yellow water, and pretty damn good khao man gai. So I never left.
It's like the Thai version of McDonald's, right? You don't go to McDonald's for the food, you go for the familiarity.
Very good point. Yeah, it's funny that all those restaurants are not actually connected to each other, so they're not franchises, but they certainly look as if they are.
If it ain't broke, right?
That's right. It's just a formula. It's a formula that works.
Yeah.
We want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Ina Polyakova, who supports us at the show shoutout level. Stick around after we're done talking about a few differences I've noticed between Thailand and the West to hear why Ina is henceforth known as Bangkok Podcast's Iron Butterfly.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear about that. We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our ad-free regular show a day early, behind-the-scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons like Ina also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about my ongoing adventure in America as I try to test negative for COVID and get back to Thailand, the proposed 300 baht fee on tourists entering Thailand, an addition to the Thai citizenship application that will make it more difficult, and all the work Greg put in to get his son to understand the cultural significance of the phrase, donuts. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
It must be insufferable to be my friend because almost every conversation that someone has with me is usually interrupted at some point by, like that one time on The Simpsons, and then I tell a Simpsons story.
Well, The Simpsons is so long running, as you pointed out, and there's just so much cultural relevance. Like it just exploded into the world. What in the 90s, right? Simpsons or late 80s?
Yeah, it came out in 1987.
Oh, 87. Okay. I mean, it's hard to overestimate its pop cultural significance.
Yeah, actually, I read something that said it was a bit of advice for any kid who's going to university right now. They're like, get really acquainted with like Friends and The Simpsons trivia because you're like drop a couple of those lines into a conversation with your professor, and they'll be like, oh yes, this kid gets it.
That is genius. Seinfeld, Simpsons,
totally.
To some extent, maybe South Park. That's genius.
Yeah, it
genius.
is. Yeah, good times. Podcasts. All right. Well, on this episode, we take advantage of Ed's unfortunate situation being stranded in the US of A to do one of our semi-regular episodes covering different aspects of, I guess you would call it, reverse culture shock. Now, even in normal times, there's a regular turnover of expats who go home after months or years in Thailand. But these days, well, that turnover has gotten pretty high. So Ed thought he'd chip in with a few observations he's made during his time back home to give the rest of us an idea of what we're missing or not missing. Now, some are trivial, some carry more weight, but there are definitely some big cultural and systemic differences that Ed has noticed. And Ed, it's all you. I'll turn it over to you.
You know, the way I think about this show, I got this idea for the show immediately upon arriving in Boston, and you'll understand in a minute. But what I've noticed since I've been here is certain experiences that I have that I just immediately feel that I would never have in Thailand. it's like something happens and I'm like, oh shit, that would never happen in Bangkok.
Oh yeah, right.
So that's kind of the concept I'm working with. This is stuff that just struck me as, wow, like this is different. Okay, it might happen like occasionally, in Thailand, but I'm like, holy shit, this would never happen. So I'm going to start off with number 1. Believe it or not, I've got 10 of these, Greg. So I don't know if you can handle it, but I've got 10
wow. All right.
unique experiences. The first one I'm just going to call Nazi guard. And this has to do with, so this is where I got the idea for the show. So I arrive in Boston. I've been up for about 26 hours at that point. And I could not sleep on the plane because, just straight out of a movie, I had a crying kid next to me. It was, I couldn't believe it. It was as if someone scripted it.
Oh God.
There was a crying kid next to me. So I've been up, probably 26, maybe 27 hours. And, so I'm zoned out. And the first thing I do is I go and get a beer, so I'm sitting there. So I'm feeling good. I text my mom and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I head back to get on my connecting flight to Cleveland. And the Boston airport is fairly complex. And on top of that, there was construction going on. Okay. So I'm coming up in the airport. I'm trying to get back to my gate. And there's a Y. I've got like a junction. There's a Y. And there's a security guard sitting there. Okay. And I'm looking to the left and I'm looking to the right. And I can't remember which way to go back to my gate.
Okay.
And so I took 3 steps to the left. And then I saw a sign further down where I realized, okay, that's like heading out. So I kind of backed up and out loud, I was like, oh, that's not right. And I moved over to go the correct way back to my gate.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And the guard goes, sorry, sir, once you step over that line, you can't go back.
What?
So now I'm kind of at the Y again because I've, backed up. I'm kind of at the Y. And I said, I've already gone through security. Here's my boarding pass. And I move to go to the right. And he goes, sorry, sir, you must continue towards the exit.
Jeez.
I'm like, I can't go to the exit. Like I've got a flight. I've got to go over here to the right. And he's like, sorry, sir, once you step over that line, you must continue.
What?
I'm like, I'm looking around, like looking for the hidden camera.
No doubt.
And the guy was so strict. And, I think I know what was going on. This is a guy, no offense to security guards in the world, but this is a guy who has a little bit of power.
Right.
And he has to exercise it.
Right.
Like this is his chance. This is his chance to exercise his authority. So I'm not making this up. A very strange thing happened because I'm super tired. I just had a beer. I really don't want to walk out because I have to go all the way through security again. And the security in the US, I was surprised. It's actually stricter than what I had to do in Thailand. It's like, belt off, every coin out of my pocket, shoes off. It's the full bore thing.
Okay.
That I'd already gone through.
Right.
So I'm standing there at this junction with the security guard in front of me, and I'm looking to the right towards like where my gate is. And I'm thinking, what's he going to do? Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to tackle me?
He could tase you, man.
Is he going to tase me?
He could tase you, bro.
He might. So I'm, the wheels are turning in my head. Like, what is the cost? What's the cost benefit judgment of just walking to the right?
Right.
Okay. And he could see me thinking. He's looking at me and he knows I'm considering going to the right.
Oh my God. So
I say to him, dude, you saw me come from over here. Like, I've already got my boarding pass.
Yeah.
And I'm not making this up. He goes, I didn't see you.
You should have said, well, I didn't step over the line.
So I'm getting pissed because he's lying.
Right.
So I'm getting pissed and I'm leaning towards going to the right. I'm like, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm not making this up. He goes, this will not end well for you, sir.
Holy shit. What? Dude, that's...
Can you believe that?
Oh my God.
Can you believe that?
Did he unclip the little button on his gun holster?
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was thinking, this would never happen in Thailand. Like, Thai security guards, they just don't act this way.
No.
Like, they're reasonable people. Like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if I'd call that guy's actions American or not. I think this guy was just being a jerk. But I just felt like, wow, this type of strictness, this type of, maybe there was a rule. I don't know exactly what his training. Maybe there was a rule, like once people go past this line, don't let them come back around. So maybe that was his training. I have no idea. But it was like, he absolutely followed the rule, like with no bending whatsoever.
Wow.
So I don't think that would happen in Thailand. That's all I'm saying.
So what did you do?
Well, I put my tail between my legs and I walked out through the exit and I went all the way back through security.
Oh, lame. What a jerk.
So I honestly think that was the right call. Probably. This guy was going to tase
Can
me.
you imagine? A confused man held down and tased.
Okay, so there you go. So that's American confrontationalism and American rule following. There you go.
All
okay,
right.
Number 2. Very important. Aggressive kindness.
Are you sure you're not in Canada?
No. Well, I think this is an American thing. I don't think Canadian kindness is aggressive. So what do I mean? Well, I arrive in Cleveland. The first day I'm there, I go to CVS. I've got to buy a bunch of stuff. So I've got my CVS basket and I go up to the counter and they ring it up.
Yeah.
And it's more expensive than I thought because there was a bunch of stuff that was supposed to be 2 for $1.
Okay.
But it didn't ring up as 2 for $1. And I said, oh, I thought this was going to be $25. It's like $49. And the lady goes, oh, you need to have a CVS card to get the 2 for $1.
Oh.
And as soon as she says that, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is going to cost $50. A woman at the next counter over, who of course I don't know, says, oh, you can use my card. And she just opens up her purse and takes out her CVS card and hands it to the cashier.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, that was so nice. That was so kind. And this is a touchy subject. I believe Thai people are some of the nicest people in the world. They genuinely are nice, but not nice like that.
I see. Interesting.
Are you with me? I mean, I think this is a valid point. Thai people are not friendly in the sense that they engage with you by choice, especially if you're a foreigner. So maybe they're more that way with other Thai people. But
Yeah.
I just don't think I don't think a Thai person would do that with a stranger they didn't know, especially if they were a foreigner. And plus, I didn't ask. I didn't turn around and like, hey, is there anyone here?
with a card?
It wasn't like that. She just offered it like on her own, spontaneously, for no reason. And again, I don't mean this as any criticism of Thai people. Thai people are nice. But it was like, this was just, I call it aggressive kindness. Out of your way, totally unnecessary kindness.
Well,
so I like this.
That's interesting.
I like this.
But I'm going to counter with the fact that you do sometimes see this in Thailand. And in fact, I saw it the other night. And let me tell you this story real quick. I was out with one of our listeners who's visiting, our buddy Han, and we went out for dinner. And as we were coming, and we went out for a drink afterwards. And as we were coming out of this bar down near Wat Po, this like little group of Thai people was on the street talking to each other, and this old guy came up to me, and I won't go into the whole conversation we had in Thai, but basically he offered me marijuana infused waffles.
Now for free, you mean?
Yeah, he opened his bag and he's like, have some waffles. He's made marijuana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like,
okay,
no,
well,
I was like, no, thank you, but no, I got to go home and work. And he goes, don't worry about it. It doesn't make you sleepy, and you'll wake up tomorrow energized. And I was like, no, that's okay, thanks.
Well, I like that story for many reasons, but yeah, you might be right. I mean, again, it could just be me or my personality or Farong's. And I've actually noticed this a little bit before on trips. It's just, and again, it's so hard to tell if it's just because I'm white and I'm a native speaker, and so it's easier to connect with people. So it's hard to tell what this is. So
Right.
this might not be a comment about Thai culture. It might just be a comment on the expat experience in Thailand.
Yeah, that's a very good difference. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just Americans are just not nicer, but more engaging.
I see.
Like just, anyway, that's my take so far.
Good
Okay,
one.
number 3, COVID carelessness. This is huge. And part of it is just being in America. Part of it is being in Ohio. And because we're kind of like the Texas of the North in a way. The bottom line is over here, there's much more variety in opinions towards COVID. I was talking about this a little bit on the bonus show, but I feel that in Thailand, about 95% of people are on board and kind of think the same.
Right.
But in in the States and in Ohio, there's a whole range of opinions about COVID, from like hardcore anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, anti-lockdown people, to people on the other side who are being super extra careful and they're isolating even if they're not sick. And maybe this fits with the fact that, Western culture is supposed to be more individualistic, but there's a much greater variety of views. And I'm not even talking about like dealing with anti-vaxxers. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'll give you an example. And this is actually another example of aggressive kindness. A friend of a friend who I met, super nice guy. As soon as he heard I tested positive, so this is immediately upon testing positive, not after I finished isolation, he called me up and said, hey, if you want to come over and hang out with my family, that's cool. And okay. I was really confused. I'm like, dude, I just tested positive yesterday. He's like, I don't really care about that. He's like, me and my wife, we've both had it before, and 2 of my kids right now are positive. So he's like, my house, there's probably just COVID everywhere. He's like, so if you're feeling lonely, you can just come over and hang out with us. And so I was like, wow, over here, very few people wear masks outside. Like, I would say maybe 10% wear masks outside.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in Thailand, I think it's a 20,000 baht fine if you don't wear a mask outside.
I would say it's as close as you can get to 100% without taking in
so
like
almost
the
no
numerical
one,
variance.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say almost no one. I would say 10 or 20% of people wear masks outside. And then some places, like I shop at Giant Eagle, so they have a mask requirement. So in Giant Eagle, everyone has a mask. But when I go into like this coffee shop, it's about 50-50 in the coffee shop. So even people who aren't, like some people are just sitting there waiting for their drink, so they're not drinking yet.
Right.
They don't have a mask on.
Okay.
So this is in a small coffee shop. They don't have a mask on.
Interesting.
Anyway, this is just something I've noticed. It's just, and part of it is being in Ohio, but there's just a greater range of opinions, and we're in the middle of a giant COVID wave in northeastern Ohio. And I would say it seems to me about a third of the people just don't give a shit.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the debate, but anyway, it's just something I've noticed.
I saw a funny tweet the other day, and it was from a guy who was in California, and he said he was in a dispensary, and some guy came in to buy some herb, and the guy behind the counter was like, "Sir, can you put your mask on when you're in here?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, sure." And he put his mask on, and he said, "Sorry, I'm from Texas, and we have freedom down there." And the guy goes, "Isn't possession of marijuana in Texas a felony?"
Yeah, there's different types of freedom, no doubt. Okay, number 4 is related to number 3. Vaxxers everywhere, but no tests to drink.
Ooh, good one.
Wasn't that witty, Greg?
Very witty. That was a literary callback, I believe.
It doesn't really work, actually, but I didn't know how else to phrase it. The bottom line is, over here, it's, at least in Ohio, it's very easy to get a vaccine or a booster. They're offered for free at most pharmacies. So you're supposed to sign up ahead of time, but you just get on the website and sign up. Usually there's an opening within like 2 or 3 days. So I got my Moderna booster here. It's all for free. You don't really have to do anything. It's super easy, but it's very hard to get a test. So I've been following Thai Twitter, and it seems like people are paying like 1 baht to get a rapid antigen test. They're giving them away. There's like, you guys are drowning in rapid tests.
I got a whole box. I got 2 boxes of them right next to me on the bookshelf. And actually, I retweeted a tweet from our buddy David who put out earlier, and he compared the American one and the Thai one. And the American one was like this massive box, cost $24, and the Thai one was this tiny little box that had 2 tests in it and cost like $4.
That's exactly right. So for one thing, those rapid tests over here are in general sold out everywhere. There's no rapid tests. On top of that, it's very hard to get a PCR test. I, in fact, had to pay $175 for 2 different PCR tests when I was trying to get out of the country because I couldn't find a free PCR test. So I paid $175 twice. So that's what, 6,000 baht, 5 to 6,000 baht I paid for a PCR test.
Jeez.
Now, after New Year's, it's been a little bit easier. So now I can make an appointment to get a PCR test, but the appointment is usually 7 to 10 days in advance to get a free PCR test.
God, that sucks.
So bottom line is, if you need a vaccine, this is the place to be. But if you want to take a test, it ain't the place to be.
Come to Thailand.
Number 5, a bit trivial, but this bugs me every day. I mentioned this, I think, last week. Where the heck did I put that? I'm telling you, wearing layers of clothes, I have too many pockets, dude. It's. I know it sounds weird, but it happens to me every day. So I've got jeans on, so I've got 4 pockets, plus maybe a little coin pocket, right?
Right.
Then my next layer is either a flannel shirt or a hoodie, and they have 2 pockets. In the flannel shirt, there's 2 breast pockets, and so that's 2 pockets. And then I wear a leather jacket with like a lining in the cold weather, and that thing has 6 pockets.
That's funny.
Okay. It's got inner pockets you can reach in, and then it's got side pockets and then top down pockets. So my leather jacket has 6 pockets. So what does that work out to be? That's like 12 pockets, dude.
That is a lot. And it's funny. I especially since with this working from home on and off over the past 2 years, I've worn basically shorts and a t-shirt for 2 years now. And even when you dress up to go to the office, you've got, 2 front pockets, 2 back pockets, and maybe a pocket on your breast of your shirt. Right.
Dude, this has happened to me so many times where I'm in the coffee shop and I've ordered and now I have to pay. And I reach over here trying to find either my money or my credit card. And then I'm like, I reach over here, it's not there. I reach inside, I go to my back pockets and I'm like, excuse me, sorry. And I'm just like fumbling around like an idiot.
You've become that guy. People behind you are like, hurry up, hippie. Go on.
That's right. No, straight up, that's what's going on. And, I don't have time to explain to them, like, I normally don't have this many pockets.
You see, I live in Thailand where it's quite warm usually, and we don't have this many clothing.
Right. Okay, number 6. Greg, on the show Star Trek, how did they travel great distances quickly?
Well, that would be
individuals.
That would be by transporters.
That's right. I'm telling you, Greg, transporters are real.
Ooh.
In America, we have these things called suburbs with freeways that are not crowded. And they're basically like transporters. It's unbelievable how fast you can travel in a short time. I'm still, so now I've been here a month and I still can't get my head around it. A buddy will be like, hey, let's go to the west side of Cleveland and hit this restaurant. And I'm like, dude, that is 40 miles away.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah. It's going from my side of the river, to Bang Na. And so I'm, in Bangkok, okay, that's 90 minutes. I mean, it depends on the timing and everything.
Sure.
I'm like, that's 90 minutes. Dude, it's like 15 minutes.
Really?
It's like we pop on the freeway and it's like zip. And I'm like, we're on the other side of Cleveland. I'm like, how the hell did this happen? And it's basically, there's a lot of roads and they're not crowded. And it's just the advantage of no traffic and everyone has cars. And there's exits and entrances everywhere, and it still blows me away, like
wow.
how fast you can get around. So immediately I thought, this is like a freaking transporter.
Interesting. Yeah, that's funny because many times I'm driving around and I'm like, should I get on the highway or should I stay on street level? Like, what's going to be faster? And sometimes it's a toss up.
I don't drive in Bangkok, but I'm just used to everything takes time. I get in a cab. And I zone out, and it's going to be 40 minutes for me to get to Sukhumvit.
Right.
It's going to be 40 minutes, But here, it's totally different. However, number 7, related, no wheels, no deal.
Oh.
Basically, without a car here in the suburbs, you're totally screwed. Like, for example, I'm very, very lucky that the condo I'm staying in is near a supermarket.
Right.
If that wasn't true, I would starve. Because I can walk 10 minutes to this supermarket. You just can't survive without a car unless you have a lot of money. So get this. I have had to take Uber here a bunch when my friends couldn't pick me up. And for example, when I went, where was I going? Oh, I think I was going to try to renew my driver's license. And just to get to where I was going was $25 each way. So my final Uber bill, on top of the cost of, the bureaucracy, my Uber bill was $56. So basically, it's like a 2,000 baht cab ride.
Jeez. Yeah, it's the same in Canada when I've gone and stayed with friends in the suburbs as well. Like, everything is just so spread out. You're either taking a bus or taking a taxi. This was before my city had Uber. So, yeah, you have to have a car.
Well, in Bangkok, I can go to Pattaya for 1,500 baht. So I can find a taxi that'll take me straight to Pattaya, 2 hours away,
Right.
2.5 hours away for 1,500 baht. So for me, just to go to the driver's license bureau is 2,000 baht.
Interesting
if I have to
dichotomy.
go Uber. Yeah. Okay, number 8. God, this has been such an impact on my life in a negative way. Prime for the win.
Obviously, you're talking about Optimus Prime.
Yeah, no, I'm an Amazon Prime member. And Amazon Prime has a lot of things that you can get with same-day delivery. Now, in Bangkok, other than food, in general, there's no same-day delivery. If you get something from Lazada or whatever, it takes a few days.
Yeah.
And if it's coming from China, it might take a week. But Amazon, I think, has 3 warehouses in northeastern Ohio. 3 gigantic, like football field warehouses in northeastern Ohio. And so you can't get everything same day, but a lot of things you can. So it's unreal how much shit I've ordered. It's bad.
Wow.
I'm like a teenage girl with her first credit card. Okay, it's crazy. Because I pop on Amazon and I'm like, I need this cable, I need this connector. Oh, I don't have like a cutting knife. My buddy didn't give me a cutting knife, so I just order like a cutting knife. And then it all comes like 5 hours later, it's at my door.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and there's a ton of overnight delivery. So I just order something at 3 p.m. and the next morning it's sitting outside my door.
That is pretty crazy. And, ignoring the fact that Amazon is a giant evil corporation run by Mr. Burns, I order from Amazon too. It's just some things I just can't get in Thailand, and I'll pay the X dollars, whatever it is, for shipping.
Right.
I bought my son a really cool birthday present for it's a box that has like hidden panels, so you have to slide these hidden panels in a certain pattern to open the box. It's really neat.
Oh, right.
But I read a study on this one time, and they said that this is really going to have major long-term effects on brick and mortar infrastructure, because even getting into your car and driving down to the corner store is more of a pain in the ass than a couple of clicks and waiting a few hours.
Normally, I'm the guy getting political. And listen to you, getting all political, getting all deep and meaningful.
Spending too much time around you. Pretty soon I'm going to have one of those back ponytails while I'm bald on top.
That's right. Dude, I'm actually ashamed to admit it, but maybe by admitting it, I will shame myself into changing. But I checked my Amazon record of my orders. I have 16 separate deliveries.
In your time there?
Like in the last 3 weeks, I've ordered 16 times from Amazon.
That's a lot.
It's embarrassing. I got to stop. I'm going to run out of money. I'm not going to be able to afford the Phuket sandbox. Like, that's the only way I'm going to be able to get back in. I'm going to be penniless. I'm going to land in Phuket and call you up and be like, Greg, can you transfer some money to my account, please?
I was 47 kilograms overweight, and I had to pay 17,000 baht to get my shit here.
All right, number 9 is related to number 8. It's a bit explanatory why I have 16 Amazon Prime purchases. Blackberry ginger balsamic vinegar, Greg.
Is that a code name or a euphemism?
Basically, on Amazon, or really just in America, there's so much cool shit that I can't find in Thailand. Like whether I made my Mecca, my trip to Mecca, Whole Foods Market, and even my giant Eagle here. It's like a villa. So like a regular supermarket here is like villa in Bangkok.
Okay.
And then if you go to like a specialty supermarket, there's insane variety. And again, all of that stuff is available on Amazon Prime. So I'm like on Amazon Prime and I just see this ad for blackberry ginger balsamic vinegar. I'm like, how could I resist that?
Right.
It's like, I love blackberry, I love ginger, I love balsamic vinegar. So I click. It's like I have to click.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed over here is when I'm in Bangkok, and especially with all the malls, I think, wow, consumerism has totally overtaken this culture. Capitalism is out of control. There's just too many choices. So that's what I think in Bangkok. And then I come here and it's 10 times more. It's like there's so many options, whether you're actually in the store or just on Amazon. There's everything. You can buy everything, dude. Well, like I think it would mess you up because obviously you can still order a lot of this stuff in Thailand. It can be shipped, but I think the delay and the shipping cost, it kind of holds you back.
Yeah.
But dude, if you were here, you would get online and there'd be like Star Wars collectibles, Star Trek stuff. And it's like, it would be cheaper than in Thailand. It would come tomorrow. You would just be clicking away.
It's consumerism, man. It's run rampant. I mean, in Thailand, it's bad enough, but I totally get what you're saying. I think we've all seen pictures of the insane selection of shelves and grocery stores in America.
Yeah.
Like
Every single specialty item that I'm interested in buying, I can buy here. My suitcase is going to be filled with so much strange stuff that, you know, if customs opens up my suitcase, like I won't get charged a lot. They'll just send me straight to an insane asylum. Like if they like, honestly, it's like if they open up my suitcase, they're going to find blackberry ginger balsamic vinegar and Just Egg, a vegan egg substitute. You know, they're going to
this guy's figured out how to make a bomb with food or something. Like
seriously, it's going to be so strange that I'll just immediately be taken to an insane asylum.
Can you bring me back a bottle of that blackberry ginger balsamic vinegar?
I sure can. All I got to do is hit click. It'll be here in 3 hours. It'll
Sounds
be in my
good.
apartment in 3 hours.
Sounds pretty delicious.
That'll be order number 17.
Oh, great.
All right, number 10, something I'm very happy about, even though I know most people don't give a shit about. Number 10 is plants. Again, I think Bangkok is a good place for vegetarians and vegans, but my God. And again, I'm in Ohio, which is like the Texas of the North.
Yeah. And
the normal supermarket, My Giant Eagle, has tons of vegan and plant-based stuff. And I think it's awesome. Like I just, and I want to be clear, I did go to Whole Foods, which is like a vegan mecca. So that was insane. But to me, I'm more surprised and happy by how much plant-based stuff is in a regular supermarket. So compared to Foodland that I live next to, there's no comparison. I mean, it's more than 10 times more. So plant-based eating has really moved into the mainstream. All right, so that's enough on the plant-based stuff. But anyway, there you go, Greg. 10 experiences I've had in Ohio that I don't think I would have in Thailand.
Interesting. That was interesting to hear, man. Yeah, and we've done shows on reverse culture shock before, and there's different shades of reverse culture shock. There's dealing with how you talk to people, and there's dealing with work and personalities and relationships and stuff. But there's also the nitty-gritty things like standing in front of an aisle at the grocery store going, oh my God, how do I choose what I want?
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much choice, so much variety. It's crazy.
Yeah, you'll never find a kid getting lost in a grocery store in Thailand, but I think that's probably potentially happened a lot in America. All right, good ones, man. Okay, let's do the love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of life in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. The last time, Ed asked me what I thought about the phrase, handsome man, that ladies in certain areas yell out. So this week it's my turn to ask Ed what he thinks about something. And Ed, I think we've all seen this before. What do you think about people who have a little white string bracelet around their wrist that has clearly been there for probably a little bit too long? Like it's dirty and frayed and looks gross.
Yeah, where do those things come from again? I think people get them at like temples, or it's like a friendship thing. I'm not sure.
No, they come from a temple. When a monk blesses you, I've had them put on several times. When a monk blesses you and he splashes water on your head,
Yeah, it's the thing about the fact that it's just white string. It's, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess the whole point of it is it's not something fancy. It's not like a gold thing.
Right.
So it's supposed to have like purely symbolic value. But I don't know. I've never kind of got it. I've never understood it. I don't think they look very good. So I guess I can't say loathe, but I would say live with.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say live with, because I think they're kind of neat, and it does show that you've gone through a certain sort of ritual to, maybe connect with the culture in a little meaningful way. So I think that's kind of cool. But I have noticed on some people sometimes I'm looking down, I'm like, it's probably time to just cut that thing off, man. Like it's dirty and it's gross and it looks like a piece of string, like an old shoelace that's tied around your wrist. Like at a certain point, I think it's okay to get rid of them. Give it a couple of days and then off they come. So I'm going to say live with, but after a while, if it looks gross, maybe strays into loathe territory.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Hey, we ask our listeners to send us a voicemail on the Line app from time to time if they have something to say. And this week we heard from our friend, Mr. Yan.
Hey guys, this is Sanjan here. I am a Sri Lankan PhD student currently in Bangkok for some research for my PhD. Just want to say thanks a lot for the podcast. Got here 3 months ago. I've been listening to it pretty much every day during breakfast and lunch. I think I've covered like over 100 episodes so far. It's a lot of fun. It's very informative. Really enjoy listening to you guys. So more power to you. Thanks a lot.
Damn, he sounds like a real fan.
Yeah, good on you, man. And thanks for sending us a message, Jan.
For sure. Thank you, Jan. So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Inna Poliakova for lending us her support at the show shoutout level. Greg, what did you find out about Inna?
Well, as it turns out, Inna is one of our patrons who has joined our Discord server. So she and I have had some conversations back and forth. It's really nice chatting with her. And she's got a very, very simple request. I said, do you want me to say anything or tell a story or something like that? And she said, no, just maybe say hi to all Ukrainian listeners. So she's in the Ukraine.
All right, man. I didn't know we had a Ukrainian fan base.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating too because she joins our friend Maria and her husband who are in Russia from that part of the world, and I'm sure we've got some others, but those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. But it's funny because I don't know much about Eastern Europe, and I'm really, really fascinated to travel there one day. But I'm sort of on this Eastern European bender right now, where I'm listening to a podcast on the Russian Revolution. This like 90 episode podcast by Mike Duncan, which is fantastic. And I'm also really just about to start watching the series Chernobyl again, which is...
Oh man, I love Chernobyl.
It's so good, but it's grim.
You chose two very dark parts of European history or Russian history.
I know. I'm sure there's much brighter, more fun things to learn about. But, when you hear about Chernobyl, you always think like, oh, that was the Russian nuclear power plant. And at the time, it was in Russia, but it's actually in Ukraine, the town of Chernobyl.
Sure, right.
So I'm sort of drowning in all of this dark part of the history of the area. But Inna, maybe you can we can chat on Discord, and you can sort of introduce me to some of the happier, more rainbow tinged unicorn aspects of living in the Ukraine, because I'm sure it's a wonderful place, and I'd love to visit one day. So, Inna, yeah, thank you for your support. And also, at the beginning, I said she is the Bangkok podcast Iron Butterfly. And I said that because the first thing I think about when I hear the name Inna is, of course, the song In-A-Gadda-Da Vida by Iron Butterfly.
Talk about pop cultural references that will confuse anyone under 40.
In-A-Gadda-Da Vida, baby. Inna, if you're not familiar with that song, look it up. There's a great 17-minute version on YouTube.
That's funny. All right, a final thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcasts on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
That's right. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail online, just like Yan did, and we'll feature on the show. Or you can even reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am PKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and we'll see you back here next week.
No doubt. I'm leaning towards going to the right. I'm like, what's he going to do? And I'm not making this up. He goes, I can't even say it. But this happened for real, Greg.
What?
I can't even say it. I can't even say it.
Did he kiss you?
He goes, I can't even say it.
Because the guy was so high on his own lame power.
Seriously, I got to get this out.
Do you want to write on a piece of paper and hold it up and I'll say it?
Dude, I'll tell you right now. He said, "This will not end well for you, sir."
Oh damn.
For real. That's what he said. Hold on. I got to get it out.
Okay,
I got to get it out.
Okay. No, I'm crying.